Welcome to the Breakdown. I'm your host, Diane Rembert, avid reader, award-winning literary blogger, and the founder of Diamond's Literary World, which is my footprint in the literary industry. Today this video I should say, is going to tell you guys how I began my literary journey to becoming an eclectic reader, an eclectic avid reader. Many people claim to be an avid reader, but I have self-proclaimed myself to be an eclectic avid reader. I'll tell you why. Reading books started for me at a very early age. I can remember maybe at about as early as 4 or 5, my aunt coming from Canada and bringing me books and autographing them. At the time, I was the only child in the home, so for those of you who are about my age, that was a latchkey kid. Not necessarily a 4 or 5, but you see where I'm going with it. So they flooded me with books. And as time went on, my love for books really grew. Now, I remember very distinctly in the 6th grade, I went to a private school, and what they did for this young lady is at the 6th grade class level, I was the only student that went to the 8th grade for reading every single day, because I excelled my class, and my reading was off the charts for someone of my age group. Okay. Fast forward to the following year, the school then decided that what they would do is they would create a accelerated classroom. So now we have a 7th, 8th grade combined class. That particular year, I was blessed to have a teacher by the name of Mr. Smith. Mr. Smith is the one who really introduced me to some of the classics. So at the age of 12, he had me reading the autobiography of Malcolm X, Down These Mean Streets by Perry Thomas, Native Son by Richard Wright, I Know Why the Cage Bird Sings. This is just an example of some of the books that Man, Child, and the Promised Land by Claude Brown. How could I forget that? This is just an example of some of the things that my teacher introduced me to. And I was the student, if he assigned 2 chapters for the night, I would come back 6 or 7 chapters in, because I just loved words on paper. I loved the concept of reading. So he, in turn, he encouraged me to continue to read. He sometimes, brought me books in addition to what the class was reading. Well, fast forward that was pre-high school. High school, I think I was a little caught up in the little Harlequin romance in high school. Because, in high school you're doing so many different things, and however the case may be. I do want to make mention of the fact that my mom, unbeknownst to many people, had a cleaning business. And during holidays, school breaks, things like that, I would work for my mom. And as we went into various homes and offices, I would always stop and look at the bookshelf. I wanted to see what people were reading. Thus, I was introduced to Jackie Collins, Harold Robbins, Sidney Sheldon. I could go on and on about the things that, I was taught or that I learned from these books. But as a teenager, that's what my reading catalog consisted of. Okay, went off to college, maybe not so much reading. I think that's when I started to become familiar with, say, a Terry McMillan and things like that. Now, very important to note, got married. I became a mom, started working, making my own money. So now I'm going to bookstores and buying books, and I'm reading every day on my commute to work. Got married, moved to South Carolina, and, struggling as a newlywed. Someone told me about the book sale that normally happens every quarter at the library. Well, I went, and some books were a quarter, some were 50 cents. There were not too many that were $1. However, there were a few. So I went with my, couple of dollars and just racked up on books. At this point, I was introduced to the likes of John Jakes, the North and South trilogy, Maeve Binchy, who writes about Ireland. I just could not stop reading. Now, my husband at the time got a job at a printing company that printed books. So, I don't know if you guys know, but sometimes, they make errors. Say, for instance, the cover, there would be like a slight part of the cover that was cut off. And so it went in the damages. But as an employee, you could take home whatever you want. So he would bring me home boxes of books. And so, again, my love for words on paper was fueled. Once the children, were all born, and I started working at a store that was right next door to Borders. And that's where it all began. I literally spent every lunch hour in Borders. I'm still friends with the manager to this day. And we're going back almost 16 years. And she's moved on to Georgia, and I'm back here in Jersey. But it introduced me to people such as Kawan and A.T. Styles and a Nikki Turner. Let me just say that everything that was Triple Crown, I was introduced to at Borders. Everything, I don't know if you guys remember, but when G Unit books came out, Borders had a G Unit section. So I was introduced to a lot of authors that way. And I also want to backpedal for just a minute that during my pregnancies, each one of my pregnancies were very hard. And so I would just read every day. I would just read because I was on bed rest. I would read and read and read and read. So now, fast forward, my love of books just grew. Well, there was a time in my life where I suffered from depression, not realizing I had been suffering from depression. And I say with confidence today that books literally saved my life. I read a book a day, did not close my eyes until I got to the end. They kept me in this world. They kept me a part of this world. So, as you can see, throughout my 35 years, because I normally start my literary journey from, say, 12. So my 35 years, I've been introduced to some wonderful, absolutely wonderful authors. And I definitely encourage everyone to think outside the box. try something different. When I tell you guys that I want to try something different this year, there's a book on my bookshelf. It's actually right here. Family Ties. Which is, it was a gift to me from New York Times bestselling author Wahida Clark. Went to a book release party, and this was in the swag bag. Muslim fiction. So this is one of the things that I will definitely try this year. I've, like I said, been introduced to some very, very wonderful, talented authors. But you never know unless you step outside the box. So I hope this encourages someone to step outside the box. Don't be scared to try something new. You want to, if you get stuck in a funk in one particular genre, change it up. Try something different. You might be surprised. There you guys have it. My story, my literary journey of becoming an eclectic avid reader. I thank you for taking the time to watch this video. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. I thank you so much for taking my recommendations, for leaving comments about the books that I've discussed, and some that you've suggested to me. I thank you so much. You guys mean everything to me. Thank you for subscribing again to the channel. If you have not done so, please take a minute or two to do that now. Thank you for telling a friend. And until next time, be blessed and happy reading.